G'day, it's Mark, and welcome back to the channel. And in this episode, we look at the BF Falcon. The BF Falcon was produced from October 2005 to February 2008, with the station wagon having a longer life, and that was produced up until June 2010. The BF was the third and final iteration of the sixth generation of the Falcon. The BF was available as a four-door sedan, a station wagon, and a two-door utility, as well as a cab chassis. The BF series brought about some mechanical upgrades over the BA, and this included an increase in the compression ratio to 10.3 to 1, and also improved now independent dual variable cam timing on the six-cylinder engines, and improved knock sensors on the double overhead cam 3-valve V8, which in conjunction with the ECU modifications led to increases in power, torque, and fuel economy. This was also a requirement of the upcoming Euro 3 emission standards. As a result, the noise levels on the six-cylinder engines decreased and also improved vibration performance, and power increased from 182 kilowatts to 190 kilowatts, which is 255 horsepower. The BF also saw the introduction of a 6-speed automatic transmission, which was developed by German companies ZF and Bosch. The XR6 Turbo also got a power increase to 245 kilowatts or 329 horsepower. As well, all XR sedans received the 6-speed ZF automatic transmission as an option. The XR6 Utes were only fitted with the 4-speed. From a security perspective, Ford also upgraded the TIB locking system with a Huff, Hulsbeck and First system. It was an interesting period of time because Ford had been quite successful with the BA Falcon after the somewhat disastrous AU in terms of sales performance, and I would suggest there was a level of nervousness in terms of making too many changes, and I think this also reflected in the styling upgrades for the BF Falcon models, which featured sort of almost an X theme running through the front grille and the lower air intake as part of the design. But for all intents and purposes, it was a relatively minor styling upgrade. Interior changes included updated cloth patterning on the seats, and XR models featured a coloured tyre tread pattern on the cloth sport seats. The range consisted of the Falcon XT sedan and wagon, the Falcon Futura sedan and wagon, the Falcon XR6 sedan, XR6 turbo sedan, XR8 sedan, the Falcon XL and XLS cab chassis, and XL and XLS utilities, the RTV utility, the Falcon XR6, XR6 Turbo and XR8 utilities, the Fairmont sedan, and the Fairmont Ghia sedan. In February 2006, a limited edition Falcon SR was also launched with a higher level of equipment as a value pack. On the 6th of October 2006, the BF Mark II was officially launched to the media, and vehicles commenced production and were on sale by the 22nd of October 2006. The XT, Futura and Fairmont gained a design facelift with a new bonnet, new headlights, new grille and front and rear bumpers, while the XR range gained some minor interior updates. The Fairmont Ghia also featured a sportier body kit with side skirts designed to make the car more attractive to younger buyers. In the final months of production, July 2007 onwards, The XR6, XR6 Turbo and XR8 received a special edition body kit with dark grey inserts, which was dark argent, which they took from the F6 Typhoon. Probably not a great idea for differentiation between XR6 and FPV models, but that's what they did. And this dark argent treatment was done on the bumpers and also the side skirts. The cars also featured a chrome shadow 18-inch alloy wheel, again with the dark inserts. You could tell heavily influenced by the F6 Typhoon. Trying to add a bit of spice to the XR products, and probably what I would argue what they probably should have done at BF launch. Premium sound and climate control was also made standard. 2007 also saw the introduction of a BF Mark II Rip Curl Ute, with Ford sponsoring the 35th anniversary of the Rip Curl Pro events at Bells Beach in Victoria. The model had a number of limited edition upgrades, such as the Rip Curl badging, wetsuit material seat covers with Rip Curl insignia, premium sound system, the sports suspension, 18-inch wheels, unique Breeze paint coat in aqua blue-green, and the body kit, which was standard anyway on the XRs. And these were available in both XR6 and XR8 models. While the BF series sedans and utes were replaced by the FG in February 2008, and that's for another episode, Ford maintained a very limited number of BF models in the Mark III range. The Futura model was discontinued, leaving the base model XT as the only model remaining, primarily for fleets. Basically, Ford continued the production of the wagon, mainly due to the Telstra business, because that was a very large account for Ford. The Falcon Mark III gained dynamic stability control, available on petrol-powered models only, a new flip key from the FG series, satin alloy accents on the front grille surround, warm charcoal carpet, Goodyear Excellence tyres, and rear Mark III badging on the boot lid. The BF Falcon wagon, as I mentioned earlier, was discontinued in late 2010 and was never directly replaced. The closest successors being the Territory and the Mondeo wagon, but certainly not up to being a Falcon wagon. From an FPV perspective, this was really my first opportunity to really get involved from the ground level up in terms of, influencing the body kits and a lot of the designs. With BA, I was really trying to improve what had already been done, adding some wheels and certain paint outs and stripe packages. But with the BF, it really enabled me to build on the differentiation between the turbo models, which had unique inserts in the front and rear bumpers. Also, the front and rear bumpers had a kind of a protrusion, to make them look more aggressive. And we also included the mesh, again on the F6 Typhoon, and then the other unique mesh for the GTs, and that was fitted to the front and rear of the bumpers. Also more aggressive, larger 19-inch wheels, and making the 19-inch wheels standard. The previous GTP BA2 wheels moved down into the GT model. The GTP received all new wheels. The F6 had the dark argent alloy wheels. When I first suggested that to the design team at Ford, they were a bit surprised. I thought that was a lot of dark argent, a lot of black, if you like, or grey on an alloy wheel, because Ford hadn't really done that today, even though those sort of wheels are pretty common these days. One thing I did, though, which I think was really important, was I made sure that the wheel had a machined face, particularly on the outer edge, so that while the wheel was a dark argent, you could still see it was a large 19-inch wheel with the highlight of the rim, if you like, with that machined finish. There was also a brand new alloy wheel for the F6 Typhoon, which was influenced. I asked the designer to give me a wheel influenced by the impeller from the turbo engine, and I think the guy came up with a really good design. The FPVs carried over the Boss 290 V8 and the 270 kilowatt for the turbo. The transmissions were 6-speed manual or the 6-speed automatic. The six-speed automatic certainly transformed the drivability of the vehicles compared to the old four-speed gearbox. Four-speed gearbox was fine; it was quite reliable, but the ratios, you had four gears basically. The ZF, you had the six-speed automatic. You'd have a lower first gear and a higher final gear, and it really did improve the drivability. Plus, there was a lot of tech in your ZF gearbox. For example, if you're coming into a corner and you backed off on the throttle, the car would change down automatically for you. I mentioned before the dark argent wheels. When the first samples came in, I remember that Don Pierce, who was heading up product planning, saw them and it was a bit sort of shocked by the look of the wheels. But it's interesting because those wheels became very synonymous with the F6 Typhoon and the Tornado models, and it really helped differentiate and break the turbo range apart from the V8 range. And that was part of my, I guess, intention with that design. Another feature on the cars, which I'd really been pushing for, was dual exhaust for the V8s on the sedan. So again, the engineer said couldn't be done, but with David Flint's help and support, I was able to get that through. So that made a big difference. The other thing I did was on the F6 Typhoon from BA Mark II, I wanted the F6 badge in the grille. And the reason I did that was I wanted to return to having a GT badge in the front grille offset like the earlier GTs. In fact, what I did was I had two frames made up which contained all the original or the reproduction GT badges from XR right through to XY. So the Ford design team, Graham Wadsworth, Simon Butterworth, and the guys there had a really good theme. I had the Subaru decal. I had one of the GT stripes as a backdrop. I think it was the XW. And then I had all the badges laid out. It was a really tremendous looking display. And that was in the Ford Design Studio. And then we had one at FPV. And it was really just inspiration for the guys to use that. When I was at HSV and I worked on the HSV coupes, one of the things I really pushed for was having the high quality GDS and GTO badges in the grills and on the body side of the vehicle. So color keyed with a sort of a chrome outline, very similar to the old style badges. And so I replicated the same idea for the BF models in the GT, and it really did look tremendous with that orange sort of GT badge with the chrome highlight. At BF Mark II, again, there were updates to striping packages and wheels and so on. But the big change for FPV was the introduction of the Force 6 and the Force 8 models. And these were some of my most favourite cars that I developed when I was at FPV. I quite like that more subtle appearance. I guess you could say a little bit like the Tickford look, but I guess the fact that the cars had a very aggressive body kit to start with, more aggressive wheels, it really came off, I think, a lot more successfully than some of the T-Series cars. The Force 6 and the Force 8 had the same engine as their respective F6 Typhoon and GT stablemates. They were almost a Fairmont gear-based vehicle, had the rear parking sensors, a low lip spoiler. I made the red interior, which I always loved red interiors in cars. I made that standard rather than an option because I wanted as many cars as possible to be built with the red interior. I know in later models in the GTE, that's another story I'll get into, they made the black interior the standard interior, but I wanted the red interior. I called it Regency Red. I took that idea, funnily enough, off an Oldsmobile 98 Regency. That's where I got the idea from. I know it's a very different car to what the FPV was, but I'm just telling you where I got the idea from. The cars also had chrome mirror scalps. They had the sort of dark wood grain treatment inside on the door trims and the dashboard. They had chrome shadow alloy wheels, which were shared by both models. The Force 6 and the Force 8 badging, I wanted it to be like a Ford script, like in the Ford logo. And then the lower part of the number, whether it was a 6 or an 8, I wanted that to be the same for both numbers. if that makes sense. I'll show an image here of what I'm talking about. So that the 6 and the 8 flowed from the font that was used, that old script Ford style font. And I thought it was done very, very nicely indeed. I would actually like to have a Force 8 with a red interior in my collection. I haven't got one. I'd like to get one of those. And I thought these cars were really terrific looking cars, quite understated and look different. They're aimed against the Senator signature models from HSV. I really wanted cars that we had a full lineup. You know, we had the Pursuit Ute going up against the Maloo. We had the Super Pursuit against the Maloo R8. We had a unique addition, in fact, that we had the F6 Tornado. HSV had nothing to compete with that. We had the F6 Typhoon. Again, HSV had nothing to compete with that. That won Australian Performance Car of the Year. And that business for the turbo line of cars is really doing very, very well. And that was something that was unique to us. In fact, during my last full year at FPV, we actually outsold HSV. They were running the VY model, and we actually outsold them, which I thought was a major achievement, considering where our FPV and Tickford had started from. There are also a number of limited edition models, and the first one was the GT 40th anniversary, obviously the launch of the XR GT in 1967. I wanted to do a GT 40th anniversary, and the idea I got for that car came from, I was reading Motor Trend magazine. I used to buy that fairly regularly, and there was a Hertz Mustang special edition on the front cover. And I thought, wow, that'd be a great concept or a great idea for me to use for the 40th anniversary GT. So I had the agency mock up some boards, which had the black with the gold stripes. And the wheels we used were the GTP style wheel. And again, when I briefed those wheel designs in, I always made sure that we could paint the wheel and then machine the face so we could have different color treatments depending on what we were doing, or for limited edition models, and that was very much intentional. So they had a black wheel with a machined face, the GT 40th anniversary striping, the R-Spec handling package, which John Bow and the engineering team and myself, we developed that to reduce diagonal pitch in when the car was cornering, but still maintain that really nice quality ride. Those GT 40th anniversary cars sold out very, very quickly. One thing I would make a comment on, though, is that when I did the original product letter, I actually wanted to introduce a modern version of the Subaru, and I had the agency mock up a Subaru with, instead of the air cleaner on its back, I had the Boss 290 bonnet bulge. I had the FPV wheels, the FPV exhaust out the back of the Kangaroo, and that was going to be on the floor mats and on the build number as well, and a small decal on the outside of the vehicle. And I think that would have gone down a treat. It also would have opened up a massive merchandise opportunity for Ford as well, or for FPV. But unfortunately, I left FPV just as that car came to market, and somebody in their wisdom decided they weren't going to use the Subaru logo, which I think was a big mistake. Some other limited edition models I did while I was there was the F6 Typhoon R-Spec. There were 300 R-Spec Typhoons produced, and it was the only limited edition FPV, or the only turbo with the R-Spec suspension. So it's quite a collectible vehicle. Again, had the dark argent accents on the wheels and the spoiler. Also took the opportunity to use the dark accents on the pillars of the spoiler just to make it look a little bit different. It had leather upholstery, the R-Spec suspension, floor mats, the Brembo front brakes, and it was a really tremendous car. It was 6-speed manual and 6-speed auto as an option. And last but not least was the BF Cobra. And when I was doing the BF 20th anniversary, part of my thinking also was, because with this segment of vehicles, you've got to think about how can you reuse wheels and even the bumpers that we did, the body kits were all modular. So they were all inserts. The basic bumpers were the same, but they had unique inserts, whether it's V8 or, say, F6, for example. So you've always got to think in a very economical way to maximize differentiation, but to do it in a very economical and cost-effective way. So the Cobra, I thought, okay, if I can get this 40th anniversary car up, the black with the gold stripes, it would be very simple for me to apply the same idea, white with blue stripes, to make a Cobra. And I wanted to do a sedan and a ute because I remember when the original XC Cobra was released, Ford had a car on the show circuit, but they also had a transit van and they also had an F truck, an F100 in the Cobra sort of livery as well. Even though they didn't release those to the public, they only did the coupe or the hardtop. I thought, let's do a limited edition of the Cobra, but also do a Cobra ute. We only built 100 of the Cobra utes, and they became very, very successful. I thought that package was tremendous. Again, those same wheels that we used on the 40th anniversary, this time we painted them white and then machined the face. We had some really cool interior trim where we had the Cobra snake logo. We had the Cobra badging on the vehicle as well, and the R-Spec suspension. The car just looked, it looked really tremendous, and I was very, very happy with that. Albeit by then I'd actually left FPV, so the first time I saw it was on the show stand at the motor show, and I think Brian Mears came up to me and said, "Oh, here's your car on the stand," which was a little bit bittersweet because I'd put a lot of effort and work into releasing it, and then I wasn't there at the actual at the launch. But I guess I do take comfort in knowing that a lot of the cars that I worked on, became collector's items and became very popular. And I should add that while I left FPV at that time at the launch, I'd already done 95% of the work for the FG or the Orion project. So I'll obviously cover that in that episode. Another aspect of the FPV range, and I was on the colour committee with Ford, and the XRs and the FPV ranges shared the hero colours. And so what I used to do was I worked very closely with the women in the colour and trim department at Ford, got on really well with them. And I used to bring my old colour charts in, XA and XY colour charts, and I'd try and, I'd show them the colour charts and say, let's recreate some of these really good colours, but a modern sort of twist on them. So we did do that quite extensively throughout sort of BA and BF. I remember Bionic, for example. I was at a supercars race. I saw Alan Grice driving a ute in a bright blue, like a true blue. I thought, oh, that's a really cool colour. That'd look good on an FPV or an XR. So we developed that, and that was Bionic, and that had been taken from True Blue. Lime Glaze, that was really toxic, and I also wanted like Surfer Orange. So when I was driving to FPV one day in my car, I had a nice black GT with orange stripes. Wouldn't mind that car back, actually. I was driving along and I thought, I've got to think of a name for the colour, because Ford didn't really like to, call its colours like orange or blue or yellow. They might call it rapid or, that type of thing, phantom or and so on. So there's open to interpretation. So anyway, I was driving to work and I saw this, I think it was a Gillette or Bic razor ad, and it said Octane. And I thought, that's a good name. I'll call the orange that we'd taken from Surfer Orange, we'll call it Octane. So that's basically how Octane got its name. I also should mention a person I worked very, very closely with while I was at FPV, and that's Gordon Barfield. He was on the Ford side of product planning for performance vehicles for XRs, but he worked very closely with me on FPV products as well. And Gordon was a tremendous guy to work with, became a good friend, and he's the father of the turbo as far as I'm concerned for the XR fans out there. But yeah, I just wanted to make mention of Gordon because we worked really, really well together. Total production for the BF Falcon was 136,473 units. Although I might add that that's quoted as finishing in February 2008, when we all know that the BF Mark III continued on until 2010, particularly in the wagon form. So I don't know whether that number includes those production numbers or not. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode on the BF Falcon. Please be sure to give the episode a like, and please hit that subscribe button because it certainly helps the channel. Make sure also, if you haven't already checked it out, look at the full playlist on the Falcon History series, plus there's a whole lot of other videos for you to watch. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.